F-22 Raptor. They call her an air superiority fighter. That's only half the truth. This aircraft doesn't just shoot down the enemy. She walks into the most heavily defended airspace on Earth, clears a path for everything behind her, and disappears before air defenses even understand what just happened. That's not the definition of a stealth fighter. That's the definition of the F-22 Raptor. Iran didn't sit still. For the better part of a decade, they built an air defense shield aimed squarely at the U.S. Air Force. In 2016, Russian-built S-300 systems arrived in Tehran. Then, they developed the Bavar 373, a homegrown air defense system that Tehran called the answer to Western stealth technology. IRGC generals repeated one line over and over: Iranian airspace is impenetrable. On the other side of the world, the fighter jet Iran was preparing for was living a very different life. The F-22 Raptor first flew in 1997, designed for a Cold War that never happened. In 2011, the last one rolled off the line in Marietta, Georgia. After that, the production line shut down, the tooling was dismantled, and the suppliers scattered. 187 aircraft. That's all America would ever have. Forever. Before the night of March 1st, 2026 settled the question of who was right. The F-22 had already met Iran once before, and that time, it didn't even need to fire. March 2013. Off the coast of Iran, an MQ-1 Predator drone was flying a surveillance mission in international airspace. Two Iranian Air Force F-4 Phantoms scrambled to intercept. The F-4 was an American-built fighter sold to Iran during the Shah era, back in the 1970s. Old, but still the best thing Iran could put in the sky. What the two F-4 pilots didn't know, an F-22 Raptor was flying directly beneath them. The Raptor pilot eased under the belly of the lead F-4, close enough to read the weapons hanging under its wings. Then he pulled up alongside and keyed the radio with a short message: "You really ought to go home." Both F-4s turned around. General Mark Welsh, Air Force Chief of Staff, confirmed it publicly 6 months later. The F-22 pilot had flown under the Iranian aircraft to inspect their weapons without them ever knowing he was there, then pulled up on their left wing and told them to go home. Both F-4s shared the same bloodline as the F-22. Both were born in America, half a century of technology apart. The old one never knew the new one was right underneath. Iran took the lesson, and they had 13 years to prepare. What they were preparing to face was no ordinary machine. The F-22 Raptor isn't stealthy because someone painted it with a special coating and hoped radar would miss it. The entire shape of the aircraft, from the angled fuselage to the way the wing edges are canted, is engineered to scatter radar waves in every direction except back toward the emitter. Its radar cross-section is smaller than a marble, and she's not just invisible. Two Pratt & Whitney F119 engines with thrust vectoring let her go supersonic without afterburner. Pilots call it supercruise, fast without the heat. Infrared sensors hunting for a hot exhaust signature have a far harder time finding her than any fighter that has to light the afterburner to break the sound barrier. She arrives fast and cold, no roar of reheat to announce her. Weapons? GBU-39 small diameter bombs, GBU-32 JDAMs, AIM-120 missiles, all carried inside internal weapons bays. Nothing hanging outside, nothing breaking the stealth profile. The moment the bay doors open, the weapons drop and the doors close again takes only seconds. Even if radar catches a brief flicker, the return vanishes before the operator can react. But the most frightening thing about the F-22 is not its stealth coating or its Super Cruise engines. It is its ability to see before being seen. The Raptor's AN/APG-77 radar can track multiple targets at long range, while its Fuse sensor suite combines radar returns, electronic warning data, and data link information into a single battlefield picture for the pilot. Most fighters must first find a target and then decide how to attack it. The F-22 often makes that decision before the other side even realizes it is being watched. Iran had S-300s, had the Bavar 373, had 13 years of counter-stealth exercises. All of it met the F-22 for the first time on the night of March 1st, 2026. Late February 2026, 12 F-22 Raptors from the 1st Fighter Wing at Langley, Virginia, touched down at Ovda, a military airfield in Israel's Negev desert. For the first time in history, the F-22 deployed to Israeli soil. 12 jets out of 187 in the entire world. Every single one is irreplaceable. The production line had been closed for 15 years. Tooling destroyed, suppliers long gone. Lose one here, and America loses it forever. On the night of February 28th, the order came. Operation Epic Fury. The United States and Israel struck Iran together.
The F-22 went in first. Mission: suppress air defenses, cut silent corridors for everything behind it. B-2 Spirits held back. F-35s held back. F-15E Strike Eagles held back. Nothing launched until the Raptor cleared the way. The skies over Iran that night were not empty. They were full of things that could kill any aircraft that dared enter. Long-range air defenses were active, radars scanning continuously, crews standing ready. They knew America was coming. They'd trained for this night for years. And they only needed one SAM to find one Raptor. Just one. Then the F-22s crossed into Iranian airspace. They couldn't lock on to anything, not for lack of trying. The radar crews trained specifically for this night sat in front of their screens, sweeping every layer of sky on every frequency. They followed every procedure. Signals flickered and vanished, appeared and lost track. Never strong enough to lock, never steady enough to guide a missile. Meanwhile, GBU-39 bombs had already left the Raptor's internal weapons bay and were falling directly above them. The first targets the F-22 knocked out on opening night, the S-300 and the Bavar 373. The very systems Iran had advertised for years as the answer to the Raptor. The corridors opened. Silence. B-2 Spirits poured in. F-35s followed. F-15Es stacked in behind. The entire American war machine flooded through the door the F-22 had just opened. CENTCOM later described the Raptor's role in Epic Fury with a single phrase: sniper. From March 1st through the 9th, 12 F-22s flew over 200 combat sorties across Iranian airspace. 9 days. Iran launched dozens of surface-to-air missiles. Not one achieved the lock. Not a single Raptor took a scratch. At the same time, EA-18G Growlers jammed Iranian radar frequencies. The Raptors went in first. The Growlers covered them from behind, and once the air defenses went quiet, B-2 Spirits dropped bunker busters on nuclear facilities. In the first 72 hours, coalition forces struck over 1,700 targets across Iran. IRGC command centers, missile launchers, naval bases. There was just one catch. The entire system depended on 12 fighter jets. from a total of 187 that America will never build again. 12 jets out of 187 on the entire planet. That was the full F-22 force on opening night of Epic Fury. When Congress asked what it would cost to restart the production line in 2017, the answer was roughly $50 billion. Nobody paid. And those 12 were enough to shatter an air defense network that an entire nation spent a decade building. That kind of value also explains something most people outside the defense world don't know. The F-22 is the only fifth-generation fighter America has ever banned from export. In 1998, Congress passed the Obey Amendment, a law as short as it was absolute. No federal funds may be used to approve or license the sale of the F-22 to any foreign government. Japan wanted 50, denied. Australia asked, denied. Israel asked, denied. Israel, the country those 12 Raptors had just launched from, using their runways, fighting alongside their pilots, still not allowed to buy one. The jet is so valuable that America brought it to an ally's doorstep, borrowed the tarmac, and took every last one home. Half a century ago, America was happy to sell F-4 Phantoms to Iran under the Shah. Half a century later, it won't sell the F-22 to Israel, a wartime ally. The distance between those two decisions is the true measure of what the Raptor is worth. In July 2026, 10 F-22s left OVDA and flew to RAF Fairford in England. Not because they lost, because the job was done. The nearly 30-year-old fighter had just proven nothing could replace it. The question now is, who replaces it when it retires? The Air Force knows the F-22 won't last forever. Of the 187 built, the earliest airframes are already aging out. Outdated avionics, maintenance costs climbing every year. The Air Force is planning to phase out the oldest Raptors and redirect the budget toward what comes next. What comes next has a name: the F-47. Previously known as NGAD, the Next Generation Air Dominance Fighter. The F-47 won't fly alone. It will operate alongside CCAs, autonomous combat drones flying in formation, sharing data, carrying weapons, extending the fight without putting more pilots in cockpits. One pilot commanding an entire pack. The F-47 is still years from being combat ready. Until then, the F-22 remains the only fighter that can own the air and strike the ground in the same sortie without the enemy ever knowing it was there. America built her for a Cold War that never came, then stopped building her because there was no enemy worth the cost, then sent 12 of her into a real war, and they validated every performance claim ever put on paper. Operation Epic Fury was the first time the F-22 deployed to Israel, and the first time she saw large-scale combat. Nearly 30 years after her maiden flight, she finally did exactly what she was born to do. 12 went in, 12 came home. No losses, no damage, only each one a little older, and there will never be a new one to take its place. The most flawless stealth victory ever recorded also belongs to a machine counting down the days until retirement. Iran spent 13 years and billions of dollars building air defenses. 9 days in, their radars never once held the lock.